All non-essential personnel to emergency shelters, Security Chief Zolvex commanded, his four eyes narrowing as the holographic display magnified the approaching vessel. The ship's sleek design defied conclave architectural principles. No visible weapon ports, yet energy readings that fluctuated in patterns suggesting immense power. Analysis complete, Chief, reported Tactical Officer Cree. The vessel appears to utilize some form of quantum field technology. Our databases have no match for this configuration. Zolvex flicked his ceremonial rank tendrils back, a gesture of irritation rarely seen from the disciplined cracks. Magnify Sector 3. What are those protrusions along the hull? The imaging systems zoomed in, revealing what appeared to be transparent domes scattered across the ship's surface. Observation ports, questioned Cree. Or targeting arrays, Zolvex countered. No sensible species would expose their crew to vacuum with transparent materials unless they had some tactical purpose. He activated the station-wide emergency protocols. Within moments, defense platforms hummed to life around Nexus 7. Aboard the Odyssey, Lieutenant Emma Hayes pressed her palm against one of the observation dome's transparent aluminum panels, her eyes wide with wonder. Through it, she could see the elegant spiral structure of Nexus 7, humanity's first confirmed encounter with alien architecture. "It's beautiful," she whispered, "like coral formations back on Earth." Captain Chen smiled at her science officer's enthusiasm, but kept her attention on the tactical display. "Dr. Kumar, what do you make of those energy signatures focusing on our hull?" Ravi Kumar adjusted his glasses, a habit from Earth he maintained even in space. "Primitive scanning technology, Captain. Radiation-based, similar to our 21st century systems. Nothing our shields can't handle." "They're scanning rather thoroughly," Navigation Officer Torres noted. "Should we be concerned?" "It's natural caution," Captain Chen replied. "We'd do the same." She straightened her uniform jacket. "Let's show them humanity comes in peace. Power up the quantum communication array and prepare our first contact package." Chief Engineer Montgomery glanced up from his console with concern. "Captain, our quantum comm system generates significant energy when initializing. Their sensors might misinterpret." "Noted, Mr. Montgomery, but we need clear communication. Standard radio would take too long at this distance." Chen's expression remained confident. "Any species advanced enough for interstellar outposts will recognize communication technology." The quantum array hummed to life, drawing power from the ship's core. Unknown to the crew, their friendly gesture registered on Nexus 7 sensors as an immense power surge consistent with weapons charging. On Nexus 7, alarms blared as the reading spiked. Energy surge detected. Sensor technician Miravex shouted, patterns consistent with pre-firing sequences. Zolvex didn't hesitate. Lock defensive platforms and return targeting solutions. Send emergency broadcast to all conclave vessels within response range. The station's AI distributed the alert across 12 star systems. Warning: hostile warship spotted at Nexus 7 frontier. Unknown design. Advanced weapons charging. All available defense vessels respond with maximum urgency. As the message propagated across conclave space, the 17-member species began mobilizing their forces, unaware that the greatest threat they faced wasn't the human vessel's weapons, but the fundamental misunderstanding unfolding in the darkness between stars. Ambassador Trilna's four-fingered hands trembled slightly as she composed the message. As the conclave's most gifted diplomat, she had mediated conflicts between the aggressive Cracks and the territorial Vespari, but never faced an entirely unknown species. "Keep the message simple," advised Elder Counselor Jopak, his ancient eyes reflecting the light of the communication array. "Binary mathematical sequences first, then basic cultural identifiers." "We should include warnings about territorial violations," insisted the Cracks representative, Warlord Tarkhan. "Make it clear that aggression will be met with understanding and patience." Trilna interrupted, her melodic voice firm despite her nerves. "If we appear hostile, We guarantee conflict. She completed the message and sent it toward the human vessel, a simple greeting encoded in the most universal language the Conclave knew, mathematics and light patterns. Aboard the Odyssey, the communication console chimed. Lieutenant Commander Jackson, the ship's linguist, frowned at the incoming transmission. Something's wrong with their signal, Captain. It's degrading as it passes through our quantum field. Captain Chen leaned over his shoulder, studying the fragmented data. Can you reconstruct it? Partially. Jackson's fingers flew across the interface. There's a mathematical sequence that resembles a greeting, but these secondary patterns. He hesitated. The universal translator is interpreting them as territorial markers with defensive connotations. They think we're invading, Dr. Kumar concluded quietly. Captain Chen straightened. Decision made. We need to demonstrate our peaceful intentions immediately. Prepare our first contact database, complete historical and cultural records, mathematical principles, linguistic samples, everything we have. Chief Engineer Montgomery looked alarmed. Captain, that's over 15 petabytes of data, which demonstrates both our openness and our technological capabilities, Chen replied. A species that shares its entire cultural history isn't here to conquer. On Nexus 7, the data flood hit like a digital tsunami. Security systems crashed, communication networks froze, and the central database struggled to process the incoming information. It's an attack, shouted Warlord Tarkhan, as emergency lights bathed the council chamber in crimson. They're overloading our systems. Trilna grabbed a functioning terminal, desperately sorting through fragments of human history appearing on the screen. Wait, look at this. She projected an image showing humans in environmental suits, planting their flag on a barren moon. Another showed humans extending hands to each other, a gesture repeated in thousands of contexts. They're explorers, she insisted. This isn't an attack, it's overwhelming enthusiasm. Zolvek's approach, skepticism evident in his posture. Then explained this. He projected a historical image of human warfare, primitive vehicles moving across devastated landscapes. And this. Another image, mushroom clouds rising over cities. And especially this, a final image, human genetic modification experiments, beings altered for survival in hostile environments. They evolve through conflict. Zolvex continued grimly. Every technological leap in their history is preceded by warfare. They don't just survive catastrophe, they harness it. He turned to the council, voice resolute. The vessel must be contained until we understand the full threat they represent. As the council chamber erupted in debate, fragments of human art, music, and literature continued streaming through the damaged systems. A poem about peace appeared briefly on a screen before being replaced by technical specifications for fusion engines. A children's story about friendship between different species flashed momentarily beside diagrams of human neural enhancements. The Conclave was getting its first unfiltered look at humanity. Beautiful, terrifying, contradictory, and entirely unlike anything in their experience of the cosmos. Lieutenant Sarah Connor wiped steam from the mess hall window, watching the alien fleet arrange itself in a pattern she recognized from her military training, an encirclement formation. Though officially the Odyssey's security officer, Connor had once served in Earth's unified defense forces during the resource wars. She knew aggressive positioning when she saw it. They're preparing to fire, she said quietly, turning to the civilian scientists enjoying their lunch. Everyone moved to the inner corridor, please. Dr. Eliza Mbiki, the ship's exobiologist, looked up from her meal with skepticism. Surely they wouldn't attack without. The ship lurched violently as energy fire grazed the hull, cutting off her words. Warning klaxons blared as atmosphere began venting from a breach near the window. Connor reacted instantly, pushing two frozen scientists beneath the reinforced dining tables before throwing herself over them as the window cracked. Shrapnel from the metal frame tore across her back, drawing blood that sprayed across the white ceiling. Emergency containment field activated, announced the ship's systems as a shimmering barrier sealed the breach. Connor rose, ignoring the pain, and began calmly directing evacuation procedures. "Medical team to mess hall," she ordered through her comm unit, her voice steady despite the blood soaking her uniform. "And someone tell the captain these folks don't share our definition of a warning shot." On the Conclave command vessel, Sub-Commander Ixmal watched the human ship's response through enhanced visual feeds. He had expected evasive maneuvers or return fire after his disciplinary tap on their hull. Instead, the vessel maintained position, merely extending its strange energy field to seal the damage. "They're not retreating," he reported, confusion evident in his voice. "And no weapons charging." Fleet Commander Zorntek leaned forward, his age-spotted scales catching the light. "Magnify Section 7 of their hull. What's happening in that compartment we breached?" The view zoomed in, revealing the mess hall through the emergency field. Conclave visual systems enhanced the image, showing Lieutenant Connor directing evacuation while medics attended to her wounds. She remained standing, refusing treatment until all civilians had been moved to safety. "Their internal atmosphere was compromised," noted the Conclave medical observer. "Yet the damaged individual continues to function despite significant blood loss. And look, the smaller injuries are already clotting." Zorntek's expression darkened. Accelerated healing, functional redundancy in organ systems, continued performance despite trauma. He turned to his officers. "These are biological traits engineered for warfare. No natural evolution produces such capabilities." On another monitor, Conclave observers watched as the Odyssey's engineering team swarmed the damaged section. Human engineers in minimal protective gear worked in a radiation environment that would have killed most Conclave species within minutes, their hands moving with practiced precision as they repaired systems that should have required specialized equipment. "They're not using automated repair drones," one observer noted with disbelief. "They're making manual adjustments in conditions that should be lethal." Fleet Commander Zorntek's voice carried the weight of certainty, because they've adapted to survive conditions that would kill most sentient life. The question is no longer whether they're dangerous, but what kind of death world produced such beings, and what they intend for the rest of us. In the medical bay of the Odyssey, Lieutenant Connor gritted her teeth as the ship's doctor removed metal fragments from her back without anesthesia, their supply reserved for more serious injuries. Unknown to her, this simple act of stoicism was being transmitted across the Conclave fleet, cementing their growing fear of humanity's resilience. Commander Vex Troll signaled his squad to hold position as they reached a junction in the human vessel's corridor. The air here smelled wrong. Too much oxygen, traces of unfamiliar chemicals that made his inner eyelids itch. Through specialized helmet sensors, he detected heat signatures approaching from the port corridor. 3 targets, he sub-vocalized to his team. Minimal protection. No visible weapons. The humans rounded the corner. 2 males and a female in simple uniforms bearing patches with strange symbols. They froze upon seeing the Crack's warriors, their expressions shifting in ways Vex Troll couldn't interpret. Then, slowly, they raised their hands in unison. "Universal peace gesture," suggested his cultural specialist. "Or surrender." Vex Troll wasn't taking chances. He fired a warning shot that scorched the wall beside them. What happened next would later be studied in Conclave military academies for decades. The female engineer, later identified as Specialist Maya Patil, dropped to the floor with a speed that seemed impossible for a non-augmented organic being. The first male, Technician James Wilson, threw his toolbox with precision, the metal container spinning to distract the Cracks while simultaneously striking an emergency panel. The second male, Senior Engineer Hiroto Tanaka, slid beneath a console access panel, yanking connectors with what appeared to be intuitive knowledge of which systems to disable. Within 3 seconds, the corridor's gravity plummeted to 0.3 standard. Environmental temperature dropped to levels that made the Crack's armor's joints stiffen, and emergency lighting bathed everything in red light that interfered with Crack's thermal vision. "Adaptive defensive response," gasped the cultural specialist as he struggled to maintain position in the reduced gravity. "No training, Just instinct. In the monitoring room, Security Chief Zolvex watched the feed with growing concern. The boarding party had been selected for their superior training and enhanced combat capabilities. Yet these unarmed humans were neutralizing their advantages through environmental manipulation alone. "Magnify Sector 2, he ordered. The visuals shifted to show another corridor, where two human security officers had erected a barricade using materials that should have been too heavy for their frames to move. They worked in seamless coordination despite having no visible communication devices. "They're not using tactical networks," noted his assistant with surprise. "They're communicating through micro-expressions and hand signals." Zolvex studied the humans' movements. Unlike conclave species that evolved specialized roles, these creatures seemed universally adaptable. The one designated as medical was assisting with defensive preparations. The navigation officer was modifying environmental systems. No specialization, no limitations. The observation was interrupted when the feed showed a cracked stun blast striking the youngest engineer. What happened next defied all conclave tactical predictions. Two humans abandoned their defensive positions, exposing themselves to potential fire, to drag their wounded comrade behind the barricade. One applied emergency medical treatment while continuing to return suppressive fire. The conclave tactical AI calculated their survival probability had decreased by 68% by saving their comrade rather than maintaining tactically superior positions. They prioritize group survival over individual tactical advantage. Zolvex murmured, his voice betraying rare uncertainty. Like the hive mind Vespari, but with individual initiative intact. He watched as a human female, the ship's doctor, ran into weapon range to reach another wounded crew member, shielding them with her own body while administering treatment. "This isn't just training," he concluded. "This behavior pattern is too consistent across their different specialists. It's evolutionary." He turned to his subordinates, mandibles tight with tension. "Find me everything in that cultural database about their home planet. What kind of evolutionary pressures create a species that values collective survival so inherently that they'll die for each other without hesitation?" Ela brushed a strand of luminescent hair from her face, her four-fingered hands trembling with exhaustion and discovery. For 12 straight hours, she had worked alone in her laboratory beneath Nexus 7, analyzing fragments of human transmissions that others had dismissed as propaganda or deception. "There's a pattern here," she whispered to herself, arranging holographic star charts captured from the human database. Their navigational history showed a peculiar zigzagging course across 3 star systems, not the path of conquerors seeking territory, but of someone being pursued. She overlaid the human stellar cartography with conclave deep space scans from the past solar cycle. A chill ran through her when the patterns aligned, revealing the anomalous energy signatures that conclave sensors had detected but classified as sensor ghosts. They weren't targeting us at all, she realized, her voice barely audible. They were running from something and warning us. Ela compiled her findings and attempted to send them to the Council, only to discover her communication access had been restricted, standard protocol during first contact scenarios. With the boarding party still engaged and weapons primed on both sides, there wasn't time for bureaucratic channels. Taking a deep breath, she did something no junior Illuvian scientist would normally dare. She bypassed security protocols using an emergency research override and established a direct channel to the human vessel. On the Odyssey's bridge, Captain Chen was reviewing damage reports when the unexpected communication alert sounded. "We're receiving a direct transmission," announced Lieutenant Commander Jackson with surprise. "It's bypassing the fleet communication blockade. Origin is the station itself." "Put it through," Chen ordered, straightening her uniform despite the exhaustion evident in her posture. The main view screen flickered, revealing Ela's four-eyed face, her expression translating across species barriers as urgent concern. "Captain of the Earth vessel," she began, her translator struggling with human language patterns. "I am Junior Scientist Ela of the Illuvian Biological Research Division. I've analyzed your navigational data and detected the threat pursuing you." Captain Chen's expression shifted from surprise to grim recognition. "You found them." "Energy signatures at the system's edge," Ela confirmed, sending data to the Odyssey. "Your ship's course corrections match precisely with the movement patterns of these anomalies. Our sensors classified them as random phenomena." "But they're not random," Chen interrupted, bringing up tactical displays that made Ela's hearts stutter. "We call them harvesters. They're biomechanical entities that consume organic civilizations and their technology. We encountered them 3 months ago when they destroyed our research outpost in the Proxima system." Ela's inner eyelids flickered in distress. "Why didn't you warn us directly instead of sending your entire cultural database?" "We tried," Chen replied, frustration evident in her voice. "But our communications were being interpreted as threats. The database was our attempt to prove our peaceful intentions, to show you everything about us, transparent and complete." She transferred tactical data to Ela's terminal, detailed scans of the harvester vessels, their energy signatures, and vulnerability analyses compiled during the Odyssey's flight. "We've been studying them while evading," Chen explained. "They're drawn to advanced technology and densely populated areas, exactly what your Nexus 7 represents. We diverted course to warn you when we detected your outpost in their path." Ela stared at the data in horror, particularly the projected arrival timeline. "They'll reach our outer sensor perimeter within 6 hours. 5 hours and 42 minutes, Chen corrected grimly. "And your fleet is currently focused on us instead of the actual threat." Ela's voice firmed with newfound resolve. "I need to reach the Council immediately. Will you join the transmission?" "Patching through now," Chen agreed, nodding to her communications officer. "Let's hope they listen to both of us before it's too late." The harvester fleet emerged from the darkness like a nightmare taking physical form. Their ships, if they could be called that, resembled massive oceanic predators, biomechanical constructs with surfaces that rippled and shifted as if breathing. The smallest was twice the size of the largest conclave vessel, the largest nearly as big as Nexus 7 itself. On the conclave flagship, Fleet Commander Zorntek watched in stunned silence as the first energy readings registered on their sensors. These weren't the controlled, predictable weapon signatures of engineered technology. These were wild, almost organic pulses that seemed to consume ambient energy from space itself. "Defensive Formation Alpha," he ordered, his voice steadier than he felt. "Focus fire on the lead vessel's central node." The conclave fleet, 17 ships arranged in their most effective combat pattern, opened fire simultaneously. Energy beams and particle weapons converged on the lead harvester, striking its central mass in a display of coordination that had won countless battles against pirates and rogue factions. The harvester didn't evade. It didn't counterattack. It simply absorbed. The combined firepower of the conclave's most formidable weapons dissipated across its hull like water on hot stone, leaving barely visible scorch marks that healed within seconds. "Impossible," whispered Zorntek's second-in-command. Then the harvesters responded. 3 conclave vessels simply ceased to exist, their molecular structure disassembled so thoroughly that not even debris remained. Their crews of over 2,000 sentients vanished between one heartbeat and the next. Panic threatened to spread through the remaining fleet when a new voice cut through the command channel, Captain Chen of the Odyssey. "Your weapons are ineffective because they're using adaptive absorption fields," she explained, her calm voice a stark contrast to the chaos. "They analyze energy patterns and adjust their shields to match the frequency. You need to vary your attack patterns and never hit the same spot twice." Zorntek hesitated only briefly. "This is Fleet Commander Zorntek. Who authorized this channel?" "I did," came the unexpected voice of Counselor Zhopak. "The human vessel has provided tactical data on these harvesters, data that matches what we're seeing. Listen to them, Commander." On the shared tactical display, firing solutions appeared, courtesy of the Odyssey's combat systems. They showed weak points in the harvester formations and suggested unpredictable timing sequences to prevent adaptive countermeasures. "Follow our lead," Captain Chen urged, the Odyssey moving into position despite its damaged state. "We've studied them longer." What followed was unlike any battle in Conclave history. The human vessel executed maneuvers that their tactical simulators classified as suicidal, diving between harvester ships, using gravitational slingshotting around debris fields, and momentarily polarizing their hull to attract energy attacks before redirecting them. "They're creating openings for us," realized Zorntech, watching as the Odyssey's seemingly reckless movements forced the harvesters to reposition, exposing vulnerable areas that the Conclave ships could target. When a massive harvester capital ship broke formation and headed directly for the Conclave flagship carrying the Council members, the Odyssey performed an emergency jump maneuver, positioning itself in the path of the oncoming behemoth. "Get your people to safety," Captain Chen's voice came through, steady despite the alarms audible in the background. "We'll hold them here." The Odyssey's quantum shields flared brilliantly as they absorbed an energy blast, meant for the Conclave leadership, a blast that their tactical computers indicated would have vaporized their vessel instantly. Through the increasingly static-filled communication, Chen's final order to her crew came through to all Conclave ships: "Stand your ground. Show them what humans do when backed against a wall." Captain Chen watched as emergency lights bathed the Odyssey's bridge in crimson. Hull integrity was below 30%. Life support functioned in only 4 sections. The quantum core, their most precious technology, showed hairline fractures in its containment field. "Evacuation status?" she asked, her voice steady despite the knowledge settling in her mind. "All non-essential personnel secured in escape pods," reported Lieutenant Commander Jackson, blood trickling from a gash on his forehead. "Remaining: Bridge crew, Engineering Team Alpha, and Medical Emergency Response." Chen nodded, decision crystallizing. "Initiate Protocol Omega." The bridge fell silent. Protocol Omega, the captain's final option, never before implemented outside simulations. "Ma'am." Chief Engineer Montgomery stepped forward, his right arm hanging uselessly at his side. "Request permission to remain with the core team." "Granted," Chen replied without hesitation. She looked at the 4 other officers who stepped forward: Jackson, Dr. Rice, Lieutenant Wang, and Ensign Pottle. None showed fear, only resolute determination. "The rest of you, to the escape pods. Take all research data on the harvesters. The Conclave must have everything we've learned." As the remaining crew evacuated, Chen opened a channel to the Conclave fleet. "This is Captain Eliza Chen of Earth Vessel Odyssey. We're launching escape pods containing our crew and all our research on the harvesters. I request your vessels provide them protection." Fleet Commander Zorntech's voice came through, confusion evident despite translation issues. "Your vessel can still maneuver. Why abandon ship?" Chen's lips curved in a small, sad smile. "Because we can do more damage than just fighting." On the Conclave flagship, tactical officers watched in confusion as most of the Odyssey's crew jettisoned in small escape vessels. Scans showed only 6 life signs remaining aboard the human ship. "They're abandoning a functional vessel," questioned Sub-Commander Ixmal. "Even damage, their technology is superior to our." His words died as he saw the new course the Odyssey plotted, directly into the heart of the harvester formation. "They're going to ram the command ship," he realized, calculations running through his tactical display. But even at maximum velocity, the kinetic impact would be insufficient to. Then he saw the energy readings from the human vessel's core. They were removing safeguards, bypassing cooling systems, rerouting all power to the quantum field generators. The readings climbed beyond anything their sensors could accurately measure. Fleet Commander Zorntech opened an emergency channel. "Captain Chen, our analysis suggests your actions will result in complete destruction of your vessel and all remaining crew. There must be another way." Chen's voice came through with surprising warmth. "There isn't, But this isn't just about destroying the enemy. The visual feed showed her and the remaining crew working with calm efficiency even as systems exploded around them. The quantum core technology we use for shields and propulsion has a unique property when catastrophically overloaded. It doesn't just explode. It creates a cascading reaction that disrupts similar energy patterns within its radius. Understanding dawned in Zorn-Tech's eyes. Their neural network. Exactly, Chen confirmed. Our data suggests all harvester vessels are connected through a quantum entanglement network. Disrupting it should disable or significantly weaken their entire fleet. She paused briefly. This was never our mission. We were explorers, scientists, but every human carries the legacy of those who faced extinction before us and chose survival not just for themselves, but for all life. Through failing communications, her final words reached not just the Conclave fleet, but all listening stations across Nexus 7. We were strangers to you. You fired upon us. Yet we die willingly to protect your worlds and people. Remember this about humans. We measure civilization not by its technology or territory, but by what it will sacrifice to preserve life. 1 month after the Battle of Nexus 7, the Conclave Central Council chamber had been transformed. Where once 17 species sat in rigid hierarchical arrangement, now an 18th seat had been added. A simple design based on human ergonomics, currently occupied by Lieutenant Commander Jackson as acting representative of Earth. The Human Cooperation Accord passes unanimously, announced Elder Counselor Zhopak, his ancient voice carrying surprising strength. Let the record show that on this day, the Conclave extends full membership rights and protections to the species known as humans, with expedited processing for their homeworld Earth. Jackson rose, still favoring his left leg, where regeneration therapy was healing a fracture from the battle. On behalf of Earth and the surviving crew of the Odyssey, I thank the Conclave for this honor. Captain Chin would have been proud to see former adversaries become allies so quickly. Security Chief Zolvex, his formal armor replaced with the simpler garb of mourning, approached the human representative. In his hands, he carried a ceremonial Krax warrior's blade, an honor never before bestowed on a non-Krax species. This belongs with her memory, he said, presenting the blade to Jackson. When we first detected your vessel, I issued the alert that labeled you hostile. I was wrong in ways I could not have imagined. Jackson accepted the blade with appropriate solemnity. She wouldn't blame you. First contact scenarios are difficult even when both sides speak the same language. Across the chamber, human and Conclave personnel worked together in ways unimaginable just weeks earlier. Lieutenant Connor, recovered from her injuries with the help of Illuvian regenerative techniques, consulted with Conclave medical researchers on adapting human cellular regeneration principles to other species. Engineer Paddle demonstrated quantum shield modifications to Conclave shipwrights, who marveled at the elegant simplicity of human engineering solutions. In the memorial garden hastily constructed outside Nexus 7's main concourse, Ela, now bearing the title of Ambassador for Human Relations, placed a small Earth plant beside the holographic projection of the Odyssey. We misunderstood everything about you, she said quietly to the memorial. We thought your adaptability was engineered for warfare. We didn't understand it came from evolving on a world that challenged you at every turn. Beside her, Dr. Kumar, one of the Odyssey survivors, smiled sadly. Earth shaped us in ways we took for granted. Multiple climates requiring versatility. Enough gravity to build stronger bones and muscles than species from lighter worlds. Atmospheric variations that gave us greater lung capacity. We never realized these were advantages until we met others who evolved in more stable environments. Your physiological traits are remarkable, Ela acknowledged, but they're not what saved us. It was your willingness to sacrifice for strangers, for a civilization that had fired upon you, that we could not comprehend. The conversation paused as the station's alert system activated, but instead of alarm klaxons, a calm voice announced, "Attention. Human vessel approaching. Prepare to exchange knowledge." Dr. Kumar's expression brightened. That would be the Artemis. They received our distress call weeks ago. As they walked toward the docking bay, Ila's communicator chimed with a priority message from the Conclave long-range monitoring network. Reports were coming in from 12 different sectors. The modified alert was sounding throughout Conclave space as human vessels appeared near outposts and stations. "Your people move quickly," she observed. Kumar nodded. "It's what we do." When the Odyssey didn't return, Earth would have sent ships to every sector where we might have been. Not just to find us, but to make contact, establish relations, offer help wherever needed. At the observation deck, they watched the approaching human vessel, sleeker than the Odyssey, but bearing the same insignia. The fear that had greeted the first human ship was gone, replaced by anticipation and hope. "New protocols are in effect," Ila said, watching station personnel prepare a proper welcome. "The alert humans have arrived now means something very different across Conclave space."